he was unaware of. It's kind of potentially sounded like there may have been a mistaken identity, but moving forward, he did assure me that he will be appearing on November 21st for these 3 cases. I would like you to know that he did he did attend the University of Michigan from 2007 to 2011, and he was living in Florida between 2020 and 2021. Taking that all into account, Judge, I would respectfully request consideration for a personal bond on behalf of Mr. Cameron.
Okay, Mr. Cameron.
Yes, Your Honor.
You currently live in Ann Arbor?
No, I moved on July 29th. I moved to Southgate to coach at Mills Gymnastics. I unfortunately lost that job about a month ago.
Okay. And does your identification have your address on State Street?
No.
In Ann Arbor?
My ID, I don't have Michigan ID.
You don't have a Michigan ID?
No. And I actually don't even have that. I lost my wallet a few weeks ago.
Well, sir, I'm showing that you have a state ID. It was issued November of 2016. And the address that you have, sir, is where we sent the prior offenses. You had an offense from September 13th of this year, September 29th, and now this matter. And the previous matters from September were mailed to you at the address we had on file. However, we were notified by University of Michigan Athletics that you're not a current student or employee because the address on file is to a building on the University of Michigan campus.
Yes, it was I was a gymnast at the University of Michigan, and I used that address in 2016. It's my coach's office.
Okay.
But I don't have that Michigan ID, and I was unaware that I ever did have a Michigan ID.
So, here's where the court's concern is, counsel, is that your client is claiming he lives in Southgate. On his documentation, he wrote homeless. We have information that he resides in a building in the University of Michigan. Well, that's the address he provided. There's apparently a bench warrant out for your client's arrest out of the 15th District Court for an incident that occurred at University of Michigan back in 2016. 2 of those on 2 different dates. Sir, you were a gymnast at the University of Michigan?
Yes, ma'am.
What years, sir, were you there?
I was there from
2005.
2007 to 2011.
So then why would you still be utilizing that address in 2016?
I moved back to Ann Arbor in 2015 to finish some remaining credits for my bachelor's degree. Southgate, I am unaware of any charge out of Southgate right now. I am unaware of anyone.
Here's what this court's going to do. This court is going to make sure we're taking this address out of the system because this is not a valid address for you. The court will note that you that you are homeless, in essence, because that's what you indicate on your documentation. The court will also note that your matter from September 13th, it's alleged you have a 2.25 breath alcohol content. The matter from September 23rd or 29th alleges a 0.36 alcohol content. And now the incident from yesterday alleges a 0.29 alcohol content. Sir, it's a wonder that you are still able to walk around, quite frankly. The court's going to order a $5,000 10% bond in each of these matters, as the court has concerns for defendant safety as well as the ability for the defendant to appear in court, as he does not have
this dude just got slept.
Any known address in this local area, and the address that was previously provided is for an athletic building at the University of Michigan, where there appear to be 2 warrants out for his arrest out of the 15th District Court. In the event you postpone, sir, you are not to be released without an alcohol and GPS tether to the Wayne County Jail.
Okay.
All right, anything else, counsel?
Not at this time, Judge.
Have that problem, Judge.
Well, I
know how to do it.
had to make a presentation to a crowd. And, first 5 minutes, I was wondering if that thing was just going to fall over. And I was thinking, what did the prosecutors do? What is it that they've done here to this to sabotage my speech?
I added batteries to the wireless microphone that caused the weight to bounce.
You guys,
You're on to us, Bill.
yeah, I'm on to you. I watched the Little Rascals reruns, and y'all are, yeah. Mr. Manuel is there.
Sure. I'm feeling it.
Here's Campion. We call several cases numbered 23 CR 785 in numerical sequence through 794. So that's 10 cases, I believe.
That's correct.
The state of Texas versus Christopher Manuel. You are Mr. Manuel. Present with your attorney, Mr. Shalander, and the state's attorney. Earlier, the defendant entered pleas of guilty to 5 cases, 23 CR 785, 786, 787, 788, and 789. In the agreement that's been reached, if the court accepts this agreement and follows the sentencing agreement, then 5 cases, 790, 791, 792, 793, and 794 will be dismissed. Is that the master plan?
That is, sir.
All right. The agreement that has been reached is whatever sentence shall not exceed a cap of 8 years in prison. These are all 3rd-degree felonies. So in each of these cases, the defendant is looking at, under the law, it would be no less than 2 nor more than 10 years confinement. And he could be sentenced consecutively to each case under the law, under the agreement that has been fashioned by the parties. The sentences would run concurrently, and the sentences the sentence that the court sets in these cases cannot exceed 8 years in prison if the court follows this agreement. So let's look at our options. The defendant is looking at no less than 2 nor more than 8 years confined. And deferred or unadjudicated probation is an option. He could be placed on deferred or unadjudicated probation up to 10 years in length on each case. And then he could be placed on his regular probation, an option as well. So the court could assess 2 to 8 years in prison in each of these cases, then suspend the sentence of confinement and place the defendant on regular probation for up to 10 years in length. All right. The court has received several letters on behalf of the defendant, and I've reviewed, made some notes here. Is there anything additionally the parties want me to consider before I ask you for your arguments in support of what you believe is appropriate?
Nothing further from the state.
Nothing other than our argument.
All right. Then, Mr. Schlander, on behalf of the defendant, go ahead.
Yeah, we're asking the court to grant him probation. He was very cooperative with the police when they confronted him. He's accepted responsibility from the very beginning. He's never been in any kind of real trouble in the past. He had a long-time job at Lamar Institute of Technology or Lamar University in the maintenance department, or in the warehouse. Then he's lost his job. He's really hadn't been able to get a job since then. He knows he can get a job, but he didn't want to try to get a job and leave somebody in a lurch with only working 2 or 3 months. So depending on what happens today. I know he's very remorseful for his actions. He knows he's disappointed a lot of people in his life. He knows what he's done is harmful to these victims. But I believe this gentleman are successfully complete probation and ultimately end up being a productive and law-abiding citizen in the future.
State.
Your Honor,
He would like to say something too.
I'm going to go to him last and let him, after he hears everybody, he can then correct or make a comment on what might be argued by the lawyers. Go ahead.
please, the court, counsel. Judge, on cases like this, I'm sure that the court knows and the state feels the same as the court. These are very serious, whether or not they're pornography that involves all the, victimization, even though they're not direct, they're still involved in that. They're very serious. And 10, we take 10 that we choose, but there were obviously more, as you can read in the PSI, there were more images. We feel they're very serious, and we want to make sure that we identify those individuals who will get those images and will continue this. Therefore, if the court chooses to do probation, I understand that the criminal he does not have any criminal history other than small cases, the Class C traffic ticket misdemeanors. However, due to the nature of the offense, we ask that it be a straight probation, given that way that it will not be off his record should he complete a probation. We understand the benefit of having the full range of punishment with a deferred. However, in this case, it's more of a case of where we have a known sex offender that would be identified for the duration for as long as we can, because the importance of knowing where they are and what they're doing. So deferred to us would be a slap on the wrist in light of the circumstances.
Okay. I'm going to ask a rhetorical question here. What type can you envision or articulate a type of scenario or set of circumstances involving this type of crime, where the state would agree to deferred or unadjudicated probation?
Never,
That's the position of
my office and every prosecutor I know. And I mean, it would take the circumstances of,
Well, the law does allow that as an option.
it does,
right?
yeah.
Oh,
However,
okay.
but the state's job is protecting the community and protecting the future victims and all that. And therefore, and being a prosecutor of almost 18 years, prosecuting these kinds of crimes.
Yeah,
that's my
I'm just
opinion.
asking, the advocacy is imperative, but so in these type of cases, the district attorney's office, and I'm not condemning it in any way.
Yes.
Forecloses a legal option that the legislature has written of deferred or unadjudicated probation
Like I would
in
say
all cases.
foreclosed, but I
that's
mean,
what I'm
advocacy,
hearing.
you understand that, Judge, but due to the nature of the offense, and if you can read on the first page.
No, I'm just saying, what can you envision?
I can't envision
You can't
it,
even
Judge,
one.
and
Okay.
I would.
I'm not condemning that in any way.
I'll be candid to the court. I've never argued for deferred in any kind of case of this nature. Never.
Okay. Mr. Manuel, what about you? What would you like to say here, sir?
Your Honor, I'm very sorry that I committed this crime. I feel sorry about the victims that are involved in this kind of situation. I feel sorry that I put my loved ones through this. Changed my life because of this. If you give me a chance for probation, I will definitely try my best to be a good citizen, good person in society. I'll try to keep a job. I'll never ever do this ever again because I have lost so much due to this crime.
Have y'all, I know you've reviewed the pre-sentence report. How old of a man are you now, sir?
How old am I? I'm 43.
This pre-sentence report states that you have been using marijuana daily since 16 years of age.
Yes, Your Honor.
26 straight years daily, you have been smoking pot?
Yes, Your Honor. But I was quitting doing that now.
You think it's time?
Yes, sir.
Well, how can you be responsible when you're high? I mean, for a job or around people or behavior, or I mean, this, I don't think I've seen as long a consistent use of someone who has never been in any, been arrested before in your life, right? I don't see an arrest for anything. Is that true?
Back in 1999, yeah, I take arrested for DUI. That
Where,
was
in what county?
Jefferson.
What happened to the case?
I believe he was a juvenile, Your Honor, but he was under the age.
My parents paid a bond and never.
Oh, you're old. I thought you'd been 17.
Like,
Well, I think, well,
19.
when I say juvenile, I apologize. He was under the age of 21 with a DWI.
That's
the same thing. That's DWI.
Yeah, ain't the same thing.
I mean, it's not a juvenile thing. I understand.
It's not the same thing, I should say.
I apologize.
But I mean, but it begs the question, where or in the world are you getting marijuana daily? Don't look over to her. She doesn't know the answer. Over here, when somebody is asked a question that's like that, when you start looking over there, you're trying to figure out an answer that you think I might be able to accept that might be fabricated here. Look at me in the eye and tell me, where are you getting marijuana every day for the last 26 years?
I was getting from the streets. I was getting from the drug dealer.
But you're using it every day. For 20, that's right. Am I right about this?
Yes, sir.
Well, color me astonished. I don't think I've really, of all the cases I've handled, I don't think I've ever really witnessed something like this where they're not people who are in legal trouble daily. But then again, here you are with a crime that is a disturbing crime that so every day for the last 26 years, you've been committing an offense, a crime. Nothing. I shouldn't be amazed sitting in this position because anything is possible, I guess. But this, you can't play Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I guess you can, but it's dancing on a razor blade. You can't say, I've got a family that I love and think of, and I've got a job that I am, that I need to keep, and I'm otherwise responsible. And then you are buying drugs every day, or you're using drugs every day, but you've been consistent for 26 years, which is a consistent crime of over 2 decades. And then you are obviously weak in your ability to refrain from harming children, which is what this is. You understand that any time pornography is distributed and used, it is further victimization of the child that's being portrayed. And here it's, why would you do such a thing? Well, yeah, it's in there. I mean, it's self-gratification. You're self-gratifying yourself is the polite way to say what you're doing. You're sitting, whatever you're doing, standing, whatever it is, you're using the pornography of a child who's been victimized. You were victimizing the child by sexually gratifying yourself using the child. The only thing worse than that is that the child is not present. If the child was present, of course, and being part of this, being present in body, of course, that would be even worse tragedy to the child. But it's almost the same thing. I mean, that's the way you think of children, as a sex tool for your own personal gratification while you're smoking marijuana for 26 years. I think I've got that all. I think I've brought out all the disturbing circumstances of this. On the other side of the coin, you're Dr. Jekyll during the day. But at night, you turn into Mr. Hyde. You can't be both. You can be, but who are you is the question. You write these letters to me about how wonderful a person you are. You really are, but if we threw in buying marijuana, using marijuana, drugs, committing drug offenses for 26 straight years every day, and then using drugs to make bad decisions, I guess, to acquire child pornography and then sexually gratify yourself. That's just terrible. That's a completely different side. But that's what you are. I mean, you gotta fix that. It's like the person that says, if I ask, show me your hand, and they go, here it is. I go, no, no, no. Now you see the hand. You don't see the hand by this. You've got to see both sides of the person. And sometimes it looks just like the same. But sometimes it's completely different. And that's where you are. All right. And acquiring the child pornography, how did you get that?
Off the internet.
Yeah, that's the internet can be a wonderful tool for good use. It can also be a terrible source of evil. But at the end of the day, you, like your attorney, like me, like the prosecutor, we have free will and we make choices every day. And you're going to be, you have to pay for the bad choices you make. But at any time during this, and how many years were you involved with the child pornography? I'm not clear about that.
Say about maybe 10 years, something like that.
10 years. You don't have any children. You're not married, right?
That's right, sir. No children, no married.
Okay, but you have, I guess, nephews or nieces.
I have no niece.
Okay. These children that you were victimizing by the pornography, did you ever see that in the eyes of your nephews or nieces? Well, I mean, did you can't, how can you separate that? They're little children, and how can you not have bad thoughts and evil intentions around your nephews and nieces if you're going to victimize little children for a decade? What'd you say? Decade? 2 decades?
You said 10 years now.
10 years. I mean, how do you separate that? You can't, can you?
Yeah, I mean, I just don't, I would never.
They're little children. I mean, they're little children you're not related to. You're treating them when you have the opportunity as a sex toy, as a sex tool. All right. And again, Mr. Shalander, his attorney, is present, and the state's attorney. Is there anything anyone else wishes to add here?
No, you're wrong.
No.
All right. If nothing further on each of these cases, Mr. Manuel, again, these are cause numbers 23, 785, 786, 787, 788, and 789. I'm going to find that you have pleaded guilty in these cases voluntarily. You are mentally competent to do so. You understand and appreciate the consequences of pleading guilty. There's sufficient evidence supporting these guilty pleas from State's Exhibit 1 admitted in the plea hearing earlier to find you guilty beyond a reasonable doubt in each of these cases. I now find you guilty beyond a reasonable doubt in each of these cases. I am following this agreement. You are hereby sentenced to confinement in the institutional division of the Texas Department of Criminal Justice to serve a term of 8 years on each of these cases, which will run concurrently. Now, your attorney is going to have a chance to talk to you about the future. There are requirements. You must fill out the sex offender registration material. Have you done that?
Yes.
Okay.
I've got it over here.
You've got that? Okay. Under Texas law, for anyone such as you here in this case, who has been convicted under these offenses under section 43.26 of the Texas Penal Code, illegal possession or promotion of child pornography, you are required to register in the sex offender registration program. And failure to do so is a criminal offense that can result in prosecution. If you move to another state that has similar reporting requirements for sex offenders, you must register in that state. Failing to register can result in you being charged with criminal offense or offenses. Do you understand your requirements there, sir? All right. Anything else to add by the parties?
Your Honor, the state will dismiss as part of the plea agreement the remaining 5 cases.
The other cases as part of this agreement will be dismissed. Again, to underline this court, I think any court, under circumstances like this, where you have a decade of has years and years of consistent daily use, illegal use of child, and then you're coupling that with a consistent decade longer or longer use daily of marijuana, and then you're using not only to view it, but to sexually gratify yourself. Each time that happens, sir, a child is further victimized, a child. And no decent human being can think that that isn't one of the most horrible consequences and circumstances that can occur. So this court and other courts, I believe, who are decent minded and follow the law, are going to treat these crimes in most serious fashion. I just can't imagine harming a child, especially in this way, over years and years and years. So the court's sentence is a serious sentence, but it is what this court finds that is just under these circumstances. Do you understand what has happened today, sir?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to give you a chance to, before you're going to be taken into custody immediately. Mr. Shalander needs to talk to you about a couple of things after post-sentence matters. Otherwise, is there anything else in this case?
No.
I will be signing those dismissals. And so we are in recess on Mr. Manuel's case. Okay. All right, I have Cody Patterson and Alexis Dixon with Kimler.